Today's training session is going to cover the RB9 calendar. So what I thought we'd do first is probably spend about 5 minutes and just kind of talk to you about the differences between RB8 and RB9, kind of navigating the application, opening things up, moving around, and to just show you some visual differences and compare it to what you're currently using in RB8. Okay? Now, obviously the biggest difference with this system is that it's a web-based application. So no longer do you have to worry about having RB8 actually installed on your computer and working properly. You just open up an internet browser and use RB9. Go to a website and use it. So that means you can use RB9 on a desktop PC, a laptop, a Mac, a MacBook, a tablet. Technically, you can even use it on your phone. It might look a little crazy because it's, your phone screen is so small, but technically you can do it. Okay? So it allows you to be a lot more mobile and remote, and given the circumstances that we're in with the pandemic, that obviously does help a lot. So I like it too because, from a support standpoint in my job, I don't have to worry about error messages so much because there are no error messages that come up in RB9 as opposed to RB8 where the program can literally be broken and you have to fix it. Okay? Now, so RB9 is a website. I'm going to go ahead and log in as myself here. And all of your usernames and passwords will convert over, so you'll log in the same way you do as currently in RB8 as you will in RB9. Now, in looking at the layout of RB9, you can see that the menus are still at the top, and they're very similar to what you were used to in RB8. One of the things we didn't really want to do was kind of reinvent the wheel with where you guys find things. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel with how you guys are searching and finding data. So we wanted to make that, kind of the same. There are some noticeable differences. There will be some verbiage changes that you do notice, but I'll explain those as we go. Really, the only differences up here, we added an entities menu, and basically all of this stuff that you see here, these functions, they were all in setup in RB8. So we just moved them into entities in RB9. And then we added a connect menu as well. This is what was called RB Web that you guys are using now. We now call that RB Connect for RB9, and Connect has its own menu that's separate from everything else as well, which makes a lot more sense. Lastly, when you're logged into the system, you'll see who's logged in at the very top right. And if you want to get to your personal menu, in RB8, your personal menu was on the very top left. All you do to find it in RB9 is just highlight your name, and these are all your personal settings now next to your name. So you have your messages there, you have your user preferences, so everything is listed right there for you. Now, to start off, I'm going to open up a few functions in RB9, and I'm not really opening anything for any particular reason. I'm just opening a bunch of functions. And basically what I want to show you is that when you open functions, your search criteria are still on the left-hand side. You still have multiple search criteria for most of the functions that you're searching for. And again, like I said, a lot of the same search criteria will be there. A lot of the functions, we added additional search criteria to give you additional filters. When you open up functions, they still open up in tabs, as you can see at the top. So again, it's the same thing. You can move back and forth from any tab that you're working on, any particular function, and you never really lose your place. When you're searching data, data can be found in two ways. One is just like RB8 grid layouts. You still have the kind of spreadsheet with columns and rows. You have the ability, if you look down here at the bottom right, there's this button. This is export. You can still export the data to Excel or as a CSV file. And then we'll have some functions that are specifically reports. Again, you had the same thing in RB8. Some functions were grid layout functions, some were actual reports. The reports themselves, I think, are pretty much the same. They look a little bit different, but they give you the same bits of information. Some of them enhanced, and there are a couple new ones. But for the most part, the ones you use on a daily basis, we didn't want to obviously change those up too much and make them look weird where you had to get used to them. So those will retain their same usage as before. And with reports being the same, you still have the opportunity to print those reports out or export them as a PDF. So the same thing that you could do in RB8. Now, when you're working with grid layouts, let's talk about opening a detail window. When you're in RB8, if you're in invoice inquiry, you wanted to open up an actual invoice, you double click that invoice or you right click and select view, and it will open up that detail window. If you're in the job calendar and you have your list of jobs and you want to open up a job, same thing, you could double click the job or right click it and view. Now that all changes in RB9. Since we're using a web environment now, there are certain things that you can no longer do, okay? For example, double clicking with your left mouse button to open something, that's gone. On a website, when you want to go to another page, do you double click something? No, you don't. You click a link, right? So double clicking is gone. You can see if I double click anywhere, it doesn't do anything, okay? And also, right click is completely gone, okay? Right click is gone because if you right click in any web browser, you're at the mercy of whatever that web browser wants to do. I'm using Google Chrome right now, and these particular options that you see are my right click options, and these are all Google Chrome options. So we can't control that. So double clicking and right clicking are completely gone, okay? So forget about it. Now, when you want to open a detail window, like I said, it's going to be a link. And usually it's going to be one of the first 2 or 3 columns that has the clickable link. And you'll know it'll be blue, right? And when you cursor over it, it's going to make the hand so you can click it. So if I open this job, you'll see it actually opens up as a tab over to the right, okay? So this is another thing that I like about RB9. If I open multiple detail screens, whatever they may be, you'll notice everything opens at the top next to all the functions. To me, this is a better improvement, or it is better than RB8, because I remember RB8 would open at the bottom, and then you had to highlight the RB8 icon and kind of see which tabs you had open, right? Well, in RB9, you don't have to worry about that. Everything's embedded into the one window, so you'll never really lose your place. You can see every detail screen that you actually have open. Now, another thing that I like too is that I can keep going. So maybe I wanted to look and see, view this contact information. I can click view contact. It opens to the right. So I was in that job, right? So now it opened to the right and I'm viewing the contact. Well, maybe I want to go somewhere else too. If I open up something else, it actually opens up to the right again. So everything that you continually click keeps going to the right. Okay, so if I want to go back, I can close this window. It takes me back to the contact, and then if I close that, it takes me back to the job. The nice thing about it is that things don't open up on top of each other. A, because it stays within the one internet browser window. That's why. But another reason why this is a better, way the system works is because of the fact that when doing this, you won't be able to get to a point to where you can't open anything else up. They don't open on top of each other. They open next to each other. So nothing will ever lock you out of the system. In RB8, you could get to a point to where you open so many windows, you would get to that one little detail window where you couldn't do anything else. You couldn't minimize it and go somewhere else. It would basically lock you out of doing everything. So you had to close that window, and then you could do whatever you wanted to do. Okay? So that's a lot better. No more being locked out of stuff and opening multiple windows. Okay. Now, I want to talk about being inside of a detail screen. For example, inside of this job. And it really doesn't matter with whether I'm in a job or whether I'm in an invoice. I guess I can show you both. But what the differences are that I want to show you, anytime you open up a detailed screen, you're used to in RB8 where the detail screen had tabs going left to right. For example, since we're talking about calendar today, when you open up a job in RB8, the tabs go general, location, additional, parties, resources, job level repository, status log, notes log, right? They go left to right. Notice in this job, there are no tabs, okay? So you don't go left to right in tabs because A, that would be kind of weird since we have everything up here and then we would have more tabs underneath it. So basically what the system does is it goes top to bottom and everything is broken down into these bolded sections. So for example, in the job, we have the general section. Then I have ordering client, job location, additional, parties. So it mimics everything that RB8 did as far as the tabs go. It's just that now there are specific sections going top to bottom. So that is different. You go up and down instead of left to right. Now, this is a lot of scrolling. So you're telling me if I'm down here and I want to get back to the general section, I have to do this every single time? No, you don't have to do that, okay? And this is something I want you guys to get used to doing because it will really save you time in navigating through the detail windows that you're in. So whatever detail window you're in, it'll say view job, edit job, whatever it may be, view invoice, whatever it may be. See, if I'm in this invoice that says view invoice, whatever screen you're in, if you click up here, it will show you all of the sections, which are essentially the tabs from RB8. So if I want to get to the general section, I simply click right here, and RB will take me right there. I want to go down to the repository, click right here. So we'll take you to that exact section. So I would get used to using that because that'll really save you some time, easier on the eyes, not as much scrolling, just easier use in general, okay? Now, I want you to notice too up here, when I'm in this job, for example, notice that all these data fields, they're basically grayed out. Not grayed out, but they're at a point to where I can't make any changes to them, right? I can't go in here, I can't do anything, I can't change the witness name. That's because in the web interface, when you open up a detailed window, you're in what's called view mode. That's why it says right here, view job, okay? Now, if you want to make changes to something, what you're going to do is you're going to click edit. And that will change the screen to edit mode. So two modes, view mode, edit mode. And you'll notice now that I'm in edit mode, you can take a look, obviously, all the fields down here, right? They're all open. So now I can make my changes to any of the data that I need to. So two modes, get used to that. View mode, edit mode. That'll be something you have to get used to. Okay. All right, so let's get out of all this stuff. Oh, and if I want to close all tabs, I can actually do that right here. Close all tabs.